am the Irish guy, and are you still here? I am going to shock you today. I know I am. No, I'm not going to show you how grubby my feet are. No. Today, I'm taking a look at every Premier League club and finding one player who you didn't know was still contracted to your club. Finding out these players are still in your club's payroll years after you forgot they existed. I'm telling you, this video is gonna freak you out. It's gonna be a bit like finding Kate Winslet hiding in your cupboard. Right, let's go. Arsenal Nuno Tavares. Nuno Tavares is still an Arsenal employee. Yes, remember that completely forgettable bird-brained left back they bought from Benfica 4 years ago? This man is just a modern-day André Santos. And lads, I'm surprised I even remember who André Santos was. Because make no mistake, that Brazilian dumpling was as defensively sound as a half-chewed pancake. And now he has the dignity of someone who ever auditioned for Geordie Shore. Mikel Arteta decided long ago that Nuno was no better than a pint of bear puke. He hasn't played for the club since Zinchenko was bought, and lads, that was yonks ago. He's been loaned out to Marseille, Nottingham Forest, and Lazio. It's just a case of out of sight, out of mind. But no, he's still a Gunners employee on 60 grand a week. This is a bit like you finding that expired fish finger sandwich at the back of your sock drawer and realizing that, oh no, 4 years later, it's now attracted rats. And that's why there's a mouse now cuddling your toothbrush. Honestly, lads, realizing that Tavares is still technically an Arsenal player. It's weird. Aston Villa, Philippe Coutinho. Philippe Coutinho is still contracted to Aston Villa. I know, it's freaky. The last we heard about this former £120 million Barcelona star was that he was going to have his contract torn into shreds by Aston Villa last summer. Never happened. That was the report, that the Brummie club had finally had enough, and we were about to watch the indignity of someone who was once considered Liverpool's best player, even when they had Salah in the team. But the fact this guy is still in his early 30s and Unai Emery has decided that he's no better than that flannel your nan uses to scrub her armpits. Wow. I mean, to be fair, Coutinho was just that cute little toy given to Steven Gerrard. A bit like when Carlo Ancelotti randomly got James Rodriguez at Everton. But yes, Coutinho has actually made the exact same move he made in 2008. He's on loan from a European mega club at Vasco da Gama in Brazil. The difference is, back in 2008, this kid was an exciting teenage star, hoping to win the approval of a treble-winning Jose Mourinho. Now, Coutinho's motivation is in the toilet, and probably spends every day eating pies with Dimitri Payet. Look, his contract is up in June at Villa, so we're not going to see him turning up to Villa's pre-season training looking like Susan Boyle's twin, but wow, what a fall. Bournemouth, Adam Smith. Look, we should probably believe this because he's still getting regular football. But lads, this feels like a new Bournemouth era, doesn't it? This magic time under Andoni Iraola sort of makes the Eddie Howe era look a bit vanilla by comparison, right? So it is weird to think that a 33-year-old right-back, Adam Smith, is still in the Cherry squad. This Spurs reject is somebody who's never had big clubs eyeing him up ever in his life. But Max Aarons, his right-back rival, he's had both Barcelona and Bayern Munich knocking on his door and is now on loan at Valencia. So, the fact that Smith won the race to stay in Iraola's squad is sort of nuts. This man was making his Bournemouth debut in September 2010, when he was making his Cherries debut. You couldn't go 12 minutes without hearing a Katy Perry song. California girls made me want to chop off my ears and feed them to a dog. That's how long ago it was when Smith first pulled on a Cherries top. He was a Bournemouth player before Ed Sheeran was famous. The fact he's still there is mad. It's a bit like finding out that that mate you went to school with, who worked the McDonald's drive-thru at 17, oh, he's still serving up chicken nuggets at 3 a.m. when he's 49. Brentford, Josh Da Silva. I remember when Josh Da Silva was the most exciting talent at Brentford, when this former Arsenal kid ran the show and scored the only goal against Newcastle in the League Cup quarter-final 4 years ago. This is someone who used to get coaching sessions from Thierry Henry. He was a mini Joe Willock, but injuries Fulham ate him for breakfast. He played just 3 games last season, none this campaign, and yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that technically at 26, he's still a B. Brighton, Andrew Moran. Is Andrew Moran ever going to be given a crack at Brighton? This is a ridiculously talented 21-year-old Ireland international, an attacking midfielder. 6 years ago, he was one of the most exciting prospects in Europe, making his debut for Bray Wanderers at 15. He was becoming the youngest ever goal scorer by scoring against Wexford at 16. Damien Duff was trying to sign him up for Shamrock Rovers when he was 30. He's class. He then joins Brighton in July 2020, with the Seagulls seeing off competition from Chelsea and both Manchester clubs. He is a mini Duff, someone who was on the same pedestal as Evan Ferguson, and yet what has he done? He's played 12 minutes of Premier League footy against Everton 2 years ago. Nothing since then, just loaned to Blackburn and Stoke. Instead of repeatedly buying unknown ballers from South America on the cheap, can you please just give Morin a go? Well lads, if even the likes of Facundo Buonanotte and then Julio Enciso, full Argentina and Paraguay internationals, Copa America stars are getting squeezed out on loan. Oh, what chance does a scruffy kid from Dublin have? Chelsea, David Fofana. You know what, Chelsea? I'm impressed. I was fully expecting to see some real random Fruit Loops out on loan. Like players they've been keeping captive since 2012. I was half expecting to see Victor Moses still on the payroll. Nah, he's instead at lowly Luton, where he probably has to bring his own pre-match meal to work. Just a few sausage rolls robbed from Greg's. To be fair, not even Romelu Lukaku is out on loan anymore. So I guess the most shocking one maybe David Datro Fofana. Let's be honest, this Ivorian centre forward, the mini Drogba bought from Mould, his Chelsea career has been munched up by a dog. Come on, Chelsea were arriving really late to the Norwegian party. They bought a striker from Mould 3 years after that was the cool thing to do. It's like this is their desperate attempt at buying a Haaland, who just happened to be the same nationality as their club legend. But it's just a bit desperate. It's like they were just assuming there must be some magic spring water in the top set mold, which is kind of sad. It's a bit like me going to the same shop where KSI buys his underpants in the weird hope that it might give me the seekers to success. No. Fofana has been loaned to Union Berlin, Burnley, and now Göztepe in Turkey. You know how many years I left on his Chelsea deal? 4.5 more years. This is exactly what I warned you about. Giving these duds monstrously long contracts, you're gonna have to beg other teams to borrow them for the next 4 years. Wow. Here's the Palace Joel Ward. I bet you haven't thought about Joel Ward in at least a year, right? You fully forgot this man was a thing, but yeah, I'm surprised to see this 35-year-old right back is still at Crystal Palace because he has been there since he left Portsmouth in 2012. He's experienced the entire of Palace's stint in the Prem. He's got nearly 400 appearances for the club. He saw Wilfried Zaha come through as a child. Yeah, he's now washed up in the MLS. And yet Ward is still at Sellers Park. I fully thought Oliver Glasner just flushed him out the door in the summer, but no. He's like that creepy teddy bear your grandma has kept since 1942. You know, the one with one eye and with fur that still stinks of moldy Rice Krispies. Everton Mason Holgate. Look, I'm pretty sure if I told you that Asmir Begovic was still an Everton goalkeeper, you'd find that all sorts of bizarre considering that the Bosnian was playing English football in 2006. But no, the answer is Mason Holgate. It feels like the centre half is an Everton Academy prospect, right? And that's why the club have kept him around for so long. He's like what Newcastle United had with Paul Dummett. It was the guy's boyhood dream to be at the club, and he was happy even if he never played, and yeah, the club didn't have the heart to let him go. Honestly lads, if Manchester City had just won the FA Cup in May, then Dummett would still be at St James's Park. Instead, they missed out on Europe, and he's at Carlisle. But Holgate? Nah. He spent 10 years at Barnsley. Him joining Everton in 2015 was just that club trying to fluke another John Stones out of Barnsley. And this guy has grown up to be a limp weasel of a defender. He was on loan at both Southampton and Sheffield United last season. Horrible at both. And I would have assumed that last summer his Everton contract would have been ripped up and fed to a pig at the zoo. Nah, he's on loan at West Brom, where he's done well enough to make his international debut. No, not for England. Relax. Don't choke on your coffee. Nah, Jamaica. And yeah, technically, still a toffee. Mad. Fulham Carlos Vinicius. I remember when Carlos Vinicius was a very brief Benfica goal machine, banging in 24 goals in a single season before Darwin Núñez came on the scene. He was so good. He got quickly snapped up by Jose Mourinho. Although, to be fair, that was just a few weeks after Spurs nearly signed Troy Deeney instead. So Jose clearly wasn't that fussy in 2020. Apparently, if they didn't get Vinicius, then Troy was their plan B. Christ above, going from Drogba to Deeney? Someone who looks like a fat werewolf? Sorry, that was mean. I mean, I look like an inside-out handbag. But look, he flopped to Spurs, went to Fulham in 2022, hasn't done much, was on Galatasaray last season, and is actually at Fulham this season, but he barely makes the bench. And he's still in his 20s. How has he got this bad at football? Ipswich Town Kieran Slicker. Yeah, here's a Scottish goalie who clearly has trouble spelling his own name. What sort of attempt at spelling Kieran is that? But look, this is somebody who joined Man City in 2010 and stayed on their books until he joined Ipswich in 2023. He was actually on Pep Guardiola's bench for a 6-3 win over RB Leipzig in the Champions League, so he must have some bit of talent. But weirdly, he's 22 years of age and doesn't have a single minute of league football to his name for any club. And lads, he was on loan at Rochdale in League 2. 0 league minutes at 22. That's kind of terrifying. Leicester, Harry Souttar. Yeah, I remember Harry Souttar, that disaster centre-back buy from the last time Leicester were in the league, just falling for the stupid old trick of buying rubbish players off the back of one half-decent international tournament. Considering his name and the shape of his head, this was clearly Leicester attempting to clone another Harry Maguire. It didn't work, and lads, I wouldn't blame you for forgetting all about this Australia international. But yeah, he's on loan at Sheffield United. And honestly, if you're not good enough to get into this terrible Leicester City matchday squad, when crazy buffoons like Wout Faes play every week, then Wow. Liverpool Nathaniel Phillips. Some things were just a lockdown trend, right? Back in 2020, it was suddenly cool to shave your head and do Zoom quizzes with your mum. Nathaniel Phillips is the footballing equivalent to a Zoom quiz. But this was like that one game of Connect 4 you played that summer and then swiftly threw back into the attic when you were allowed to go to the pub. When Virgil van Dijk had his leg destroyed by Jordan Pickford, Phillips was the Liverpool hero to step into defence, and lads, he played 20 games in one season for the club. And despite looking like some weirdo skinhead nightclub bouncer who eats puppies for lunch, he did okay. He was playing home and away against Real Madrid. He played in a win over AC Milan at the San Siro. He started 8 league wins in a row to rescue Champions League qualification. Guy must have thought he'd gone proper Hollywood. Even now, I mean, the fella's managed to avoid queuing online for 19 hours for Oasis tickets. Yeah, the guy's getting backstage VIP passes to any show he wants. And not because he's now a championship footballer. Oh no, it's because he's going out with Liam Gallagher's daughter. The guy probably now has the ego of a giant. He must have felt like a mini celebrity, but nah. He's since been loaned to Bournemouth, Celtic, Cardiff, and now Derby County. Lads, both West Ham and newly rich Newcastle wanted him in 2022. Yeah. Eddie Howe was choosing between him and Dan Burn. So if I'm Phillips, I'm probably disgusted that move fell through because Burn has had an amazing 3 years relative to his talent. But I thought he scored against PSG, whilst Nat is a forgotten pint of milk. Man City Issa Kabore. Issa Kabore is still a Manchester City employee. This 23-year-old Burkina Faso international right back joined Man City from Belgium team Mechelen in 2020. It's 5 years later. He's never represented the club for even a single minute in any competition and is now onto his 6th loan away. Mechelen, Troyes, Marseille, Luton, Benfica, and now Werder Bremen. This guy probably still has the words Manchester City in his Instagram bio. Oh, come on, lads. He is championship standard at best, and yet he's still got a City deal until he's 26. He should kiss his agent on the nose. Man United Tom Heaton. Tom Heaton still plays for Manchester United. Ow! What? To be fair, part of my soul always sings a little bit whenever I see this 38-year-old goalkeeper still on the Old Trafford books, because 4 years ago, when he was the injury-prone, forgotten, milk muffin begging nurses for a hug in the Aston Villa treatment room, I said this.
Lads, there's going to be a goalkeeping upheaval at Old Trafford this summer. Tom Heaton is an injury stain on Aston Villa's bench, and I can see him at the age of 34 returning to Old Trafford as third-choice goalie, replacing Romero in the stands. You'll see.
Yeah. The guy had been away from Manchester United for over 10 years. This return was about as likely as if I'd said Ben Foster was going back. I got so lucky this actually happened. And so, yeah, he hasn't played a single minute of Premier League football since New Year's Day 2020, when he smashed his knee. That really was the end of his career. To be fair, he did play in a League Cup semi-final win over Nottingham Forest 2 years ago, but honestly, I mean, really, don't forget, he was actually at Euro 2024 as England's unofficial 4th goalkeeper. I mean, 3 years ago, he played 20 minutes of Champions League football against young boys, which is ironic because he looks older than my mum. This guy must be begging for even just 1 minute of Premier League football for Manchester United. Because surely this guy cannot spend a grand 12 years of his life at Old Trafford and not even squeak a single minute on Match of the Day. Come on, Ruben. Let him play the final game of the season at home against his former club, Villa. And then let him retire to become a coach. Come on. You have to let him play. Newcastle, Isaac Hayden. Come on. Who gave Isaac Hayden a 6-year contract at Newcastle in 2020? Come on. Who was it? Own up now so we can send police to your house and confiscate your driving license. Because I don't want this unintelligent swamp bucket on the roads. Hayden is someone who was demanding a Magpies exit in 2019 due to family reasons, to be fair. But the following year, he's signing a 6-year deal 1 year before a mega money takeover. Lads, at this stage, this former Arsenal reject is going to have spent 10 years at the club. And lads, I can only remember one highlight. A last-minute winner against Chelsea 5 years ago. That's it. This is a man who has coughed long-term commitment out of this club. First getting a 5-year contract and then a 6-year one. What next? Are they going to give him a wedding ring? It's like Mike Ashley's mates were obsessed with keeping this midfield plotter happy. Eddie Howe, though, has farmed him out on loan to Norwich, Standard Liège, QPR, and now Portsmouth. Where's it going to be next season? Because, lads, he's still a Magpie for 18 more months. And like Holgate, he made his international debut. Again, don't choke on your tea. Again, it's for Jamaica. What's also incredibly weird is that this fella is still in his 20s. I know. I was expecting him to be a 35-year-old donut too. He's going to be 10 years a Magpie. He will have been a Newcastle United player for the same length of time that Alan Shearer was. Doesn't that make you just want to barf? Nottingham Forest, Lewis O'Brien. I remember when Lewis O'Brien was staffed at Nottingham Forest after promotion, and he looked like a stand-up buy from Huddersfield early doors, getting man of the match in his first home game, a win over West Ham. But that's it. He peaked on his home debut. He never completed the full 90 minutes again after getting roasted 6-0 at Etihad a month later, and then he started in the 4-0 loss at Leicester, but he was dragged off at half time, and that's it. His Forest career was over in less than 2 months. He's had loans at DC United, Middlesbrough, and Los Angeles FC, but now he's back at Forest. He's back at a drastically improved Forest. Oh, wow, he's not welcome back, is he? Southampton, Armel Bella-Kotchap. It's mental how Armel Bella-Kotchap cannot get in the Southampton team. One of the worst defenses in Premier League history. And yet, somebody who went to the last World Cup with Germany can barely make your bench. This young centre-back was a shining light in the Saints' last relegation season, but he skipped Championship football with a loan to PSV, where he played in the Champions League. But since returning, Russell Martin wouldn't even acknowledge him. He wouldn't even make a matchday squad. Even Juric, thankfully, has seen sense and introduced him to the bench at least. But the whole thing is so weird. He was linked with Liverpool 2 years ago. Tottenham Dane Scarlet. Oh, this is sad. Jose Mourinho bigged up Dane Scarlet so much when he was Tottenham boss. 5 years ago, he was telling the world that his teenage Spurs striker was going to be phenomenal. And that while the 22 World Cup with England was probably too soon, he could be at the next one in 2026. Next year. Well, Scarlett is 20 and this Josie back superstar has been loaned to Portsmouth, Ipswich, Oxford, and is now back in the Spurs squad, but come on, he's not gonna make it, is he? West Ham, Kurt Zuma. Yeah, he's still on the West Ham books. Hide your cats. Wolves, Keanu Hoover. Remember when Keanu Hoover was this sensational 16-year-old Liverpool defender? When they pinched him from Ajax, they won the race over Chelsea and both Manchester clubs. He was a talent, so it was really strange to see him just join Wolves for less than £10 million 5 years ago. But even Wolves don't rate him because he's since been loaned out to PSV, Stoke, and now Auxerre. He's now 23, not 16. I guess he's actually not that good, and maybe he never was. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know, what do you think? Alright, let me know. Are you surprised at these players? Are you not? Let me know in the comments section. Don't forget to like, as always. I'll talk to you in a while.